The interior of the haunted house is complex and extensive, creating a disorienting atmosphere for even the most experienced riders. With every square inch painted with black paint, it is hard to tell where your world stops and Bill Tracy's world begins. Stunts are strategically placed throughout the ride, creating a perfect mix of fright and suspense. It is obvious that the Trimpers and Bill Tracy were careful in the layout of the ride, paying close attention to how each rider's experience would be enhanced by coordination of the track and the stunts. In the late 1980s, the haunted house was expanded into 2 stories. Granville Trimper himself designed the new track layout and placement of the stunts from the former Ghost Ship ride, which came from the closed Ocean Playland amusement park, located on 65th Street Bayside. In most areas of the ride, the track is elevated by wooden platforms, which cause the coffin cars to tilt from side to side. This effect adds thrills to the ride, making riders feel like they will suddenly plummet off the edge of a dark cliff, or crash into an oncoming train. This attention to detail in the track layout helps make this ride a classic on the boardwalk, but without the incredible stunts and decor, the haunted house would be just another roller coaster, instead of the unique landmark that it is. The majority of the stunts inside the haunted house are made with papier-mâché and plaster on top of a steel wire frame. Tracy's basic construction techniques were certainly innovative, but his stunts easily suffer from the wear and tear of a busy summer season, and require frequent refurbishment. The routine maintenance given to the stunts makes each of them unique pieces of history that reflect the outstanding devotion of the Trimpers and the employees of the haunted house. Contributing further to the distinctive experience riders get at the Trimpers haunted house, the stunts present very artistic backdrops, made with care and dedication, unlike many of today's pre-made stunts from more modern companies. Each stunt is its own work of art, and resembles some of the best artistry and imagery in amusement history. It's important to keep in mind that the haunted house provides not only a thrilling ride experience, but also an overwhelming sense of nostalgia. Many enthusiasts will argue that some of the newer stunts, with their shiny plastic facades and commercial appearance, are less effective. However, the haunted house still offers a ride through a virtual Bill Tracy catalog, complete with his classics like the Nitwit, Sawmill, and Crooked Passageway illusions. The haunted house stunts are often painted with fluorescent paint, and require frequent touch ups. This results in a display of a virtual rainbow of colors. The rooms and passageways are lit with black light tubes and colored floodlights, which switch on as riders pass by. This unique mixture of lighting effects offers a very suspenseful riding experience for casual tourists and seasoned riders. Additionally, the ride is equipped with house lights so the workers can do their jobs when the ride is not in operation. There are also secret doors to allow quick access to different parts of the ride. This is also beneficial when workers keep an eye on patrons, ensuring that they are not vandalizing the property within the ride. The success of the haunted house can't be attributed to just one characteristic, but the phenomenal stunts certainly contribute to each rider's experience. They represent a combination of artistry and dedication unparalleled in other dark rides. The coffin vessels, which are original to Bill Tracy's 1964 design, contain the Hush Puppy ride system, which was a more common element in Tracy's attractions in the 1960s when his rides were first being erected. The Hush Puppy has a tubular steel chassis, versatile wheel assembly, and operates on a 2/4V iron track that is transformed to 110V thanks to each car's transformer. The term Hush Puppy referred to the quiet operation of the ride system, and the cars commonly had a fiberglass body. You can learn more about the Hush Puppy ride system by exploring Bill Tracy ride systems. The haunted house required a more sinister design, so the wooden coffin design was developed and has worked well for nearly 5 decades. The details of Tracy's haunted house cars are extraordinary. Each car is stamped with "Rest in Peace" on the back, and includes a hand-gauged lid and carvings of elegant purple decor to help reinforce the visitor's feeling of prestigious gloom. Each car is primarily stained with a dark oak finish and top-coated with polyurethane to protect them from the harsh seaside weather elements, and the car bodies are bolted onto a steel-framed base which holds the entire unit together. The lid of the car, which is designed to open upon your entry, is attached to the front end with two large barn door hinges. Originally, large piano-style hinges were used in the design, but they were phased out in 2007 and replaced with more durable units. Also during the winter of 2007, 3 of the 11 cars were sent to a West Ocean City shop to be revamped. While at the shop, they were sanded, restained, repainted, and repolyurethaned. Rotted wood was replaced, new rubber bumpers were added, and new hardware was installed. The Haunted House track is made with 3/4 dual-channeled, square-shaped steel bar. The track is held in place to the concrete floor roughly every 12 inches with steel L-brackets welded to the track and bolted to the floor. Recently, additional brackets were added as extra reinforcement to help keep the track in place. The track within the Haunted House is divided into 7 zones. Each zone is on its own circuit breaker. Normally, if more than 3 cars are in a particular zone at any given time, the breaker will trip, sounding an alarm out in the lobby. With normal operation, and the 10-second intervals given between each lobby departure, it is impossible to have more than 3 cars in a given zone unless the car malfunctions. If a car were to malfunction in, say, Zone 2, Sawmill, and come to a stop, the next car will be stopped by the first car, and the third will be stopped by the second, and so on and so forth. After the 4th car is stopped by the line of cars, it will inevitably trip the breaker and cause the ride to be shut down. The most troubled areas in the Haunted House are the Nitwit area and the uphill with the falling beam. The falling beam is particularly tricky because of the strain put on the vessel while climbing this hill. The box for the breaker alert system is mounted over the entrance door in the lobby. When a breaker is tripped, the light of the corresponding breaker will go out and on. Although the breaker system may seem straightforward, it can become tricky. There are some zones that actually skip around to different parts of the ride. An example of this would be Zone 1, which includes the first room, second room, and then jumps over to the downhill. There is no real RYHM or reason as to why this is, but it has to do with where the track sections are located. On the other side of Room 2, Crooked Timbers, the downhill resides. So, although both sections of track are on separate sides of the ride, they are practically side by side. Each zone in the Haunted House is accompanied by a control box which houses a fuse and enables the track to be split into separate circuits. The box provides current to each portion of the track and has the potential to blow if too much load is put on it. The braking system within the ride is makeshift. It consists of 2 components, a U-shaped bent piece of steel which acts as a guide for the rubber tires so the car does not fishtail, and blocks of wood built up underneath the track. The wood under the track slows the car as the unit scraps the wood and causes friction. At times, you can hear the screeching of the metal rubbing against the wood as it attempts to slow the car. This braking system can be found in several locations throughout the ride, after the upside-down room, the downhill, and the cuckoo clock. The management monitors these wood blocks often so they know when to replace them. It is important to note that this primitive braking system is crucial. A few years back, the management found out just how important this system was when they were testing different methods and watched a car plummet down the hill and break into a million pieces at the banister near the bottom of the hill. Although the lobby is considered Zone 6, it is actually divided into 4 sections to allow the ride operator to have total control. The 4 sections are controlled by a junction box which the operator usually holds in his/her lap. It consists of 4 buttons which control each of the 4 sections. As your car exits the ride, it is gliding on live current until it comes in contact with Zone 6, Section 4. This section is the unloading area. It then will encounter Zone 6, Section 3 as it rounds the bend on the far right. Zone 6, Section 2 is next in queue, which is along the front fence around to the loading area. Then, Zone 6, Section 1 is the loading area which will take the car through the entrance door to until it reaches live current. Please refer to diagram and table below. Undoubtedly, the Haunted House cars will require maintenance, requiring the cars to be lifted upright to allow access to the underbody of the vessel. But, how do they do this? In the first room immediately following the second set of double doors, also referred to as light barriers, a section of the track channel is cut out allowing the removal of the cars. There is a small section of track that is removable by unscrewing several nuts which allows workers to pull the car forward, being sure the unit is lined up correctly, at which time they can remove the car altogether. In order for a person to be able to touch the track, which is carrying live 24-volt AC current, the track must be turned off using a switch box located on the right wall of the first room. This box will only cut current to the first room, while the track cut-off switch in the lobby will turn off current to the entire ride in the time of trouble. Being that the cars cannot roll backwards thanks to their anti-rollbacks, the cars must be pushed by workers if they happen to stop in order to get them to the first room to be removed from the track. In other words, if a car were to stop in the second room, it would have to be pushed throughout the entire ride even though it is only feet away from the removable section of the track. Speaking from personal experience, pushing a car up the steep incline of the mine shaft is absolutely exhausting, especially if only one crew member is pushing. But while the first half of the ride is built up on platforms, making it more difficult to push the heavy beast, the second half of the ride is basically solid concrete, which makes it much easier to push a car through the ride. In the picture to the left, you will notice a white powder scattered on the floor near the track. Initially, one might think that it's dirt, but think again. For the past several years, Scott has been trying to implement new systems for the downhill in terms of car braking. With a lot of trial and error, he has finally hit the jackpot. During several different times of the year, the wooden blocks, which are crucial in slowing the cars during their descent, begin to sweat and become moistened, which will inevitably inhibit the blocks from being effective when slowing the cars. Friction is the key element used to slow the vessels. When the unit scraps the dry wood, the car is immediately held back. The white powder seen in the picture is a substance called oil dry, or kitty litter. If the blocks become moist due to sweating, Scott will sprinkle the oil dry onto the blocks, which will immediately dry them out. Once the blocks are dried out, they once again become effective.